So far, we've taken a look at two methods for creating subassemblies. We've seen how an ordinary assembly becomes a subassembly simply by being added to another assembly. We also saw how a group of components already existing in an assembly can be converted into a subassembly. A slight variation of this is creating a new subassembly in the context of an assembly. We still need to add the top to complete the stapler assembly. The stapler top is an assembly with two parts, the top cover and the staple ejector. These parts are assembled ahead of time, but we don't have the assembly model yet, so I'll use the in-place creation method. First, I'll go to the component group and select Create, which opens the Create in Place component dialog. I'll call it Stapler Top and change the template to standard.iam. I'll leave the BOM set to normal since the subassembly appears as a line item. And then I'll click OK. An assembly glyph displays next to the cursor, and I'll click in the graphics window to place it. The stapler top assembly is added to the browser, and it's active so we can add the parts. I'll click Place to add the top cover. Since it's the first part, it's automatically placed, so it's aligned with the stapler top origin and it's grounded. I'll right-click and select OK. Next, I'll add the staple ejector. I'll start constrain and select the flush option. Select the YZ planes for the ejector and the cover. Then click Apply. I'll click the Mate option, and I'll change the view. Select the top face of the ejector and the bottom face of the recess in the cover, and click Apply. I'll change the view one more time. Select the edge of the ejector and the back face of the recess, and click OK. I'll return to the stapler assembly so I can constrain the top to the base. I'll zoom out. Move the cover so the hole is near the hinge pin. Then zoom in again. I'll start constrain. Select the axis of the hole and the pin, and click Apply. I'll select the flush option. Return to the home view. Then select the YZ planes in the top and base assemblies. And click OK. At this point, the stapler top assembly only exists in memory. If I close the stapler assembly without saving, the file isn't created on disk. I'll drag the top cover away from the rest of the stapler. The assembly still needs an angle constraint between the ejector and the top part of the staple holder, but I'll stop at this point so we can review creating subassemblies. You've seen 3 different methods for creating subassemblies in these 2 lessons. A frequent question among users is deciding which way to do something. In this case, there isn't a right way because it depends on what you are doing at the time. If you use the subassemblies in different assemblies, it should be created separately and then added to each assembly. If you are working on an assembly and need to put some of the parts in a subassembly, you can use demote. You should only use this if the parts have already been added to the assembly because you can lose constraints and other references. The best option is usually to in-place create a subassembly. I find that creating a separate assembly, saving it, and then placing it in another assembly breaks up the design workflow. If I create the subassembly inside the parent assembly, I can easily go back and forth without changing my train of thought.